Hello guys, today we will be covering a demonstration of the Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. This will be building on the foundation that was covered previously in blog post 1. So to begin here, we will be going to amazon.com/ec2 and we'll just click the Get Started with Amazon button. This will bring me directly into the EC2 experience because I have already signed up for an account and put in the required payment information. So if you haven't yet to do that, you will need to do so. Now, today we're going to be creating an instance. This instance will be a Windows Server operating system, and in this hypothetical example, we could say maybe a company needs the Windows Server to run some sort of service for their company. So to begin the creation of an instance, we just want to click the Launch Instances button in the top right here. This will bring us to the AWS Marketplace where we can see a bunch of different operating systems, or as they call them, Amazon Machine Images. So for us, we are going to just want to use the basic Server 2016 right here. So we'll go ahead and click Select. And here we can see a variety of types. Now, the way these differ is some will have more power with more virtual CPUs, some will have more memory, network performance is also differing. And all of these will also have different pricing points. Today we'll just be using the free tier eligible to stay on a budget, and it works perfectly fine as well. Then we'll hit Next Configuration Instance Details, and here is some basic details that we could configure, what network, subnet, host name type we want it on. Everything as default is fine for now here. We'll click Next, and we'll go into storage. So right now we can see we have one volume. It's the SDA1, and it has a size of 30 gigabytes, and it's just a general purpose SSD. For this video, we'll be keeping it default, but keep in mind that it might be more expensive if you increase the size or the volume type. So we won't mess with the tags or the security groups, and we will go right on to review and launch here. So here we can see all the details of our new instance. And if you wanted to change anything, you can go back and hit edit here. But for now, we will click launch to successfully launch our instance. But before we can do so, we will need to select an existing key pair or create a new key pair. And essentially what this key pair will do, it will allow us to connect to our instance while still making sure that we have a secure connection and that nobody else can access our important information and our instances. So we'll go ahead and create a new key pair. And for the key pair name, we'll just say key pair 1, or just name it whatever you'd like. And you have to download this to your computer so that you can gain access to the instance. So after you've downloaded that, just click launch to launch it, and it will begin to set it up. So our instance is now launching here, as we can see. And this is the instance ID, so we'll click here. This will bring us back into the EC2 experience, and we'll see that the instance state is pending, and the instance will begin to boot up. So after a little bit of time, we can see that our instance state has changed to running. And now we'll want to try to connect into our instance. So to do this, we can simply click into the instance ID here. And if we refresh, the connect button will become available. Here we go. Now we can see that the connect button is ready. So simply click connect and we'll be brought to this connection screen. So we were not going to use the session manager, but essentially this uses the SSM agent, which is built in, and it is an easy way to connect using SSH to your instance. Today we'll be using the RDP client though. So to start off, we'll download the remote desktop file. There we have it there. And we're going to need a password for this remote desktop file. So to get our password, we'll simply click into here. It says that we have to wait at least 4 minutes, so we will do so. So now it's been about 4 minutes, and we can click get password once again here. And in order to get our password, we're going to need to put in our key pair that we downloaded earlier in the video. So we'll go browse, select our key pair, and we can see that it puts it in there. So we'll decrypt our password, and here we can see that we have our new password. So we'll copy this, and we'll run that RDP file we downloaded a bit earlier. Click connect. This will take some time usually. And here we can put our password in that we recently copied, and this will begin the connection. Click yes for the verification, and here we can see it will configure the remote session. Now we can see that our Windows Server operating system has successfully booted up, and we are RDP'd in, and from here we can do whatever we desire, whether that's setting up DNS, Active Directory, maybe you want a web server. You can do all your normal Windows Server stuff from inside of here. Now let's move on to managing our newly created Windows Server instance. So we'll click back on the instance ID here. We'll even go back to instances. So here we can see our newly created instance, and if we wanted to name it, we simply click here and we name it whatever we like and hit save. There we go, now we have our Windows Server. So if we click in here, we can see an overview and some details about our instance, such as the public IP address, our private IP address, some DNS information, as well as the host name type and instance type. If we go over the details tab, here we can see what platform we're using. We can see the launch time, the life cycle, what key pair we're using, and a bunch of other information. If we move into the security tab, from here we can see our inbound and outbound rules, and these would apply to the network of our newly created instance. So here we can have see some default rules for TCP, and the source is left as empty, and we can specify what port range we want and what destination we want. The networking tab essentially delivers all the IP addresses once again to us. From here we can see a little more in depth of our VPC IDs, our subnet IDs, as well as all the IP addresses that are associated with our instance. The storage tab lets us see our different volumes that we have set up, their IDs, the name of the storage drives themselves, what size they are, and whether they're currently attached or detached from the instance, meaning are they connected and working or are they not configured yet? In the status checks tab, we could use system status checks to detect any problems that might impair our instance from running our different applications. So you do that from in here if you wanted to check the status. If we move into the monitoring tab, we can see a bunch of different graphs, and these are extremely handy for basically every aspect of the instance. Here we can see CPU utilization, our system checks, our networks in and out, and essentially you can monitor the entire instance from this one page and see what is all going on at any instant. We won't go over tags today as that's more of an advanced feature, but we will go into the Actions tab here now. The Actions menu allows us to manage a bunch of settings such as the instance state, different instance settings, networking, security, image and templates, as well as monitoring and troubleshooting. And these are pretty straightforward. If you wanted to manage the general settings of the instance, you'd go into instance settings. Networking, if you wanted to change the IPs or the network that the instance on, you'd go into here. Security is again those rules. If you wanted to create new rules blocking in traffic in and out, that's where you'd go. Here's the image that the instance is using. If you wanted to change to a different operating system, you would have to go into image and templates. And then monitoring and troubleshooting is just closely monitoring the entire instance and what is running, and if anything goes wrong, you can see it in this page. If we wanted to turn on or off our instance, we would go Manage Instance State, and we could stop it, reboot it, or terminate it, which is essentially deleting it. So that's basically it for our overview of how to create an instance, connect to it, as well as some simple management skills to get you going on your way with the instance. Thanks for listening.